between nutrient supply and crop growth. The topic itself tells that what will happen to the plant growth if we have variable supply of nutrients. Means if we supply insufficient quantity of nutrient, what will be the changes in the growth? If we increase the supply further, then how much change is there in the growth? So that kind of relationship we are going to discuss. And several people, several scientists have tried to understand that what happens when we change the supply of nutrients to the plant, what happens to the growth, in what proportion growth changes, and also at different growth stages, how these nutrients influence the change in growth. So that is kind of relationship between nutrient supply and crop growth. So in the beginning, you can the objectives are to discuss the relationship between nutrient supply and plant growth. We will try to understand that, and then quantitative changes in crop. How much increase in dry matter or growth parameters is there in response to application of the nutrients. So this is the subject. And terminology, I will just flash terminology. You know, this foliar diagnosis is an estimation of mineral nutrient deficiencies or toxicities of plants based on examination of the chemical composition of selected plant parts and the color and growth characteristics. Means you can diagnose the deficiency symptoms, you can diagnose the toxicity or deficiency by having chemical analysis and comparing it with the critical concentration of the nutrient. So it is also called as foliar diagnosis. Then fraction, you understand, hidden hunger, it is clear to you. The linear response is response to an input if the response or change is constant after application of increasing the input levels, then it is linear response. Symbiosis, the living together in intimate association of two dissimilar organisms, the cohabitation being mutually beneficial, that is known as symbiosis. Side dressing is the application of fertilizer alongside the row crops, usually on the soil surface, and nitrogen is mostly side dress. So side dressing is done mostly in case of wide row crops or crops where we have wider spacing, and it is most practiced in sugarcane, cotton, and maybe in some other widely spaced crops. So here the farmers or person will put fertilizer near the root base or near the stem base, and it is just localized placement in the rows, and it is in the standing crop. So it is kind of top dressing, but it is in the row. Optimum economic dose, the dose where you get maximum economic return. That particular dose of fertilizer is your optimum economic dose. Allilochemical, it will be taught by Dr. T.K. Das in weed science. So an organic chemical by which one plant can influence another. So certain chemicals are released from the plants, and those are allilochemicals. Arid climate, climate in regions that lack sufficient moisture for crop production without irrigation. Soil amendment, I think we recently had one seminar on organic amendment. So organic amendment, and there may be inorganic amendment. So soil amendment has two kind of amendments, organic and inorganic. Or any substance other than fertilizers, such as lime, sulfur, gypsum, and sawdust, used to alter the chemical or physical properties of a soil. Edaphology. Edaphology is the science that deals with the influence of soils on living things. It is not just plant, it also includes your microbes. Glade horizon, I touched this glaze soil or glazed horizon in rice course, and it is resulting from prolonged saturation with water and reducing conditions. So this layer is greenish or bluish colors. Hard pan is a hardened soil layer, particularly on the bottom of the A horizon or in B horizon, caused by cementation of soil particles with organic matter. So hard pan, there are many reasons, and it is related to nutrient availability and uptake also, hard pan. It creates problem in the movement of nutrients and also in the availability of the nutrients. So, and also it affects the root growth. So many times certain hard pans are created, maybe due to puddling, sometimes due to soil compaction or heavy machinery. These hard pans are created. And recently, during last 1 decade or 10, 15 years, farmers have started using rotavator. So rotavator is also creating this hard pan in soil. So it needs to be broken every second or third year by some deep plowing for increasing the nutrient use efficiency or nutrient availability. Hydration is chemical union between an ion or compound and one or more water molecules. When water molecules are added to ion or compound, it is hydration. Rhizobacteria, bacteria that are living in the root parts or in the near the roots are rhizobacteria, and they can be beneficial or harmful. Beneficial are called as PGPR, plant plant growth promoting rhizobacteria, and other is deleterious bacteria. Fixation in chemistry or in soil science or in the nutrient part, you have fixation. So in soil, certain chemical elements except nitrogen converted from a soluble form to insoluble form. Soluble form may be in solution, maybe in exchangeable form, and that is converted into non-exchangeable form or non-available form. That is fixation, particularly in case of phosphorus. And for nitrogen fixation means your biological nitrogen fixation. Now, I have already discussed in detail the crop growth and factors affecting it. Here, just we want to prove that nutrient is a factor of plant growth. So, I will just flash these slides. A permanent increase in size and dry weight is known as your growth. And we want to get optimum growth of the plant to get maximum benefit and increase the income of the farmer. And some of the factors can be managed by farmers and many cannot be managed. You remember this picture. This is factors, external, internal factor are genetic factors, external, environmental and management and socio-economic factors, and then abiotic and biotic factors. So these factors affect plant growth. In abiotic factor, you have water, air, nutrients. Nutrients as a factor of growth. So nutrients are there in soil. So genetic factors, I explained to you, how light affects the growth of the plant. It is discussed. The quality of the light, the quantity or intensity of the light, and duration of the light are important that affect the plant growth. And then water, of course, water plays very important role, and not just it is needed by plant directly, it plays variety of roles indirectly in the soil, particularly in managing or moderating the temperature of the soil. And also it is important for movement and uptake of ions. So water is necessary. Your nutrients will not work unless water is there in the soil. If soils do not have water, then your nutrients will not work. So this water is very important growth factor, and temperature is also very important growth factors. I discussed in detail in another lecture, I think. And then biotic factors are also there. They reduce the plant growth. And atmospheric factors or air like carbon dioxide, oxygen, nitrogen, they are in the atmosphere. And the wind is also a growth factor, and some cultural practices. All the agronomic practices will affect the growth of the crop. Like if you do not do the weed management, if you do not do hoeing or proper aeration in the soil, the growth can be affected. If you do not add organic matter, organic manures, your growth of the crop will be affected. So likewise, there are all the cultural practices, seed rate, fertilizer rate, and so on. They affect the your growth of the plant, and of course socio-economic factors. Now by all this, we have seen that nutrients are very important for plant growth, and they are one of the growth factors. They affect the growth. If it is too less, the growth will be reduced. If it is too high, the growth can be reduced. So you need optimum supply of the nutrients. So nutrient supply is a factor of crop growth. A great deal of factors affect the crop growth. You have just seen under abiotic factors, availability of nutrients is listed as an important factor of crop growth. Thus, adequate supply of nutrients is very, very necessary to get the optimum growth. Now, critical concentration of nutrient is very, very helpful in deciding the time for nutrient supply. It tells us the status of nutrients in the plant tissues or in the plant body. So level of, it is defined as, I define it again for your convenience, level of concentration of a nutrient in the plant or available nutrient in soil. So it is with respect to soil as well as plant, producing 90% of the maximum possible growth or yield. That is critical concentration of the nutrient for deficiency or maybe for toxicity for plant or for soil. So we need to correct or we need to apply the nutrients at the time of when it shows deficiency symptoms or when it has reached the critical concentration. So the correct critical level can be worked out to know the response of crops to the applied nutrient. So this can be accomplished by doing some experiments, by doing some research. The response to applied nutrient will be higher if nutrient concentration in crop is lower. If your plant is suffering from the deficiency and it has more deficiency, the response will be more. If I am too hungry, I will take more and more food. I will eat it very fast. So in the beginning, satisfaction level will be more for me when I start eating food. It is just, you remember, law of diminishing return. So in the beginning, the response is very high, but it decreases slowly. The response will be much less if the nutrient concentration in the crop is higher than the critical level of. So the response will decrease when you overcome the deficiency of or when you have higher levels of nutrients or increasing levels of the nutrients in the plant tissues. Now, nutrient deficiencies or toxicities in soil or crops are usually identified chemical analysis. I have shown you in the lecture on soil fertility evaluation, how to evaluate the levels of soil fertility. So better it is by evaluating crop response to applied nutrients. So in that lecture, in the end, we have discussed that it is necessary to see the response of the nutrients to different fertilizer levels or different nutrient levels or doses. So we need to test the response because it will vary from soil to soil and from climatic condition to climatic condition and also from crop to crop. So we must do some experimentation to get idea that this is the response to the fertilizer. So if crop responds to applied nutrient in a soil, this suggests that nutrient is deficient for that crop. Relative decline in crop yield in the absence of a nutrient can give idea of the level of the nutrient deficiency. Now, how to see this association, how to see this relationship of nutrient supply and plant growth. So this is actually main part of today's lecture. Crop growth response to nutrients means what are the basis, on what basis we can say that this much of nutrient will result in so much of plant growth. So people have tried several methods, several techniques to see the response of nutrients in plants. So we started history. In history, they have started, we can start from Liebig's law of minimum. Liebig tried to relate nutrient supply to the plant growth. Then came your law of declining yield improvement. This law of declining yield improvement was given by Mitscherlich, E.A. Mitscherlich. Then Spillman's equation, Bowley concept, and then curvilinear models. And some people also use nutrient use efficiencies as a measure of plant growth or yield, plant growth or yield with respect to supply of the nutrients. So these are the six important, you can say, six important people or six important criteria or six important functions or how to say it, six important uh, relationship, you can say relationship between nutrient supply and plant growth. So we'll see, I think I repeated the law of Liebig's law of minimum. It is very, very important in balanced plant nutrition. and how the plant growth is affected if one particular nutrient is present in lowest quantities. So plant yield is primarily dependent on the factor that is most in the minimum, the least quantity of the factor. So later the law was inferred that this single factor decides the production. Yield increases in a linear fashion. So linear fashion on increase in this factor till some other factor which is now in short supply must be corrected. So if you supply the other factor, then again the previous factor will continue to increase the yield linearly. So this was a mistake by Liebig, which was later caught by the people or discussed by the people. So you can see this picture on the left side. Here on the x-axis you have nitrogen input, and on the y-axis you have growth. Growth here, growth or yield, you can take yield also, whatever you like to take. And it is from Havlin book, page number 12. You can see in detail also. So response to a nutrient also depends upon many other factors, other nutrients, your management, soil and climatic conditions. So they interact actually. There is interaction of these factors with the nutrient supply. So see this figure. In this figure, nitrogen is provided. Nitrogen is provided. It is in lower amount, then more amount, then extreme amounts. So what is happening? How it is interacting with other growth factors? So there may be these are very hypothetical growth factor. So in the A, in case of A line, you can see the limiting factors here are water, phosphorus, and seeding rate. Seeding rate. So A level of growth is achieved if there are four factors. And then you overcome the factor water. Water deficiency is overcome. Then you still have more yield in case of B. Then you remove the deficiency of phosphorus also. Then you will have level of yield as C. Then again you remove the seeding rate limitation. Then you will have the maximum possible yield. The maximum possible yield. Now another law was law of declining yield improvement. This law states the relationship between nutrient supply and plant growth. So Mitscherlich proposed the two laws actually. The law of declining yield improvement was given in two parts. So one is Mitscherlich's law of physiological relationship and other is Mitscherlich growth law. If you want to go in detail, you have a book, Soil Fertility Evaluation. Soil Fertility Evaluation by C.A. Black. So you can consult that book. Yield can be increased by each single growth factor, even when it is not present in the minimum, as long as it is not present in the optimum. So the meaning is here yield means it can be growth or yield. It can be increased by each single growth factor, even when it is not present in the minimum, as long as it is not means you need to take the level of nutrient to the optimum, where you will get maximum response. And in this case, he has proved that there is no linear response. Response is not linear. It is actually, it starts decreasing. Response starts decreasing. Mitscherlich growth law, increase in yield of a crop as a result of increasing a single growth factor is proportional to the decrement from the maximum yield obtainable by increasing the particular growth factor. So decrement means the amount of decrease or gradual decrease in quality or quantity. To be more precise, we can say that it follows almost law of diminishing return. Initially, the response is more, then response decreases, means you will get less response, and then again less and less response. So this is Mitscherlich law of growth. Mitscherlich discarded Liebig's assumption that yield increases produced by fertilization was directly proportional to the quantity of nutrient. So it used to have kind of linear association. Plant growth increased as more of this nutrient was added, but not in direct proportion. It increased, but not in direct proportion to the amount of the growth factor added. Means it was less and less and less. The increase in growth with each successive addition of the element in question was progressively smaller. So Michelin concept is expressed mathematically as, you know, most of you know about dy dx is equal to a minus y into c, where dy dx is the rate of increase, rate of change in y due to change in x, and produced by additions of the deficient nutrient x. X is taken as deficient nutrient, and A is the maximum possible yield obtained by supplying all growth factors, means no growth factor is limiting. That yield is your maximum yield. And Y is the yield obtained after any given quantity of the factor X. So this is actual yield obtained at the level of factor X. C is the proportionality constant or efficiency coefficient or factor. Now, another person tried to make relationship between nutrient supply and plant growth. It was Spillman's equation. In 24, he edited a book dealing with the law of diminishing return and its relation to biological production relationships. He developed a mathematical expression of crop yield response to plant nutrients. He simply copied the concept of Michelin. So the Spillman form of Michelin equation is y is equal to m minus ar power x, where y is the yield expected from x amount of applied nutrient or fertilizer. It is your actual yield, you can say. M is maximum attainable yield or maximum possible yield. A is theoretical maximum increase in yield obtained by increasing x. M is theoretical maximum yield attainable, A is theoretical maximum increase in yield obtained by increasing x, and R is your constant. So this Spillman equation, I think it does not have any significance or practical value. It is just because it was developed, they were the initial year, but it is not being used. It is not useful actually. Then Bowley's concept, similarly, Bowley in 1980 proposed modification of Michelin law of physiological relationship. Bowley said it is not the absolute increase in yield that reflect the effect of fertilizer, but the percentage increase in yield or the percentage of the maximum possible yield produced by fertilization. So he is not worried about the actual changes. So he converted those changes into percentage. Introduced the concept of effect quantity H, which is the quantity of the nutrient necessary to produce half the maximum yield. Half the maximum yield. This quantity is known as Bowley unit. So one Bowley unit will increase yield within 50% of the maximum. Two Bowley units, 75%. Means every time you will get 50% increase of the previous increase. So when one Bowley unit of a nutrient is present, x plus b is equal to 1. X plus b is equal to 1 and y is equal to 0.5a. So that log a minus 0.5a is equal to log a minus cx. So based upon Michelin equation, log a minus y is equal to log minus cx. So he has proved by this that c is equal to 0.301. So C is the this proportionality constant, where X is the nutrient from fertilizer and B is the nutrient from soil. The values of C for all growth factors may be represented by 0.301 if the supplies of the various factors are expressed in Bowley units. It is not being used anywhere to find out the optimum dose. So it is just for the sake of writing in books or reading, but it has no practical value. Among all such relationships, Michelin idea are still used by people, and that is most relevant in this regard. Even many times people are using Michelin equation to find out the optimum level of fertilizer or optimum level of nutrients. Now, next is curvy linear models. I already discussed in some another course, I think in principles of crop production, I discussed such issues. curvilinear models or non-linear models. These models are based upon law of diminishing return, where quadratic, square root, logarithmic, Michelin equations are fitted to see the yield response data. Yield response data. So it is quite common in biological organisms, this curvilinear relationship. The response to a variable is rapid in the beginning, slower at intermediate level, and then it decreases or it becomes negative. So such kind of response is quite common, this curvilinear relationship. And the pattern of plant growth over time usually starts slowly in the beginning at germination stage and then increases to a fast rate at intermediate growth stages and slows down towards the end of life cycle. The optimum dose of fertilizer to a crop is that rate which produces maximum economic return. So it can be worked out by using this quadratic equation. It is possible to determine the optimum economic dose of fertilizer if it is established that the response is quadratic. Economic yield targets usually do not exceed 80% of the maximum potential yield. Generally, they are 80% level of the maximum attainable yield. The approach described does not include other economic variables. That is the limitation of curvilinear relationship, that you do not have fixed cost here. Even other variable costs are not included. It's just only fertilizer and nutrient cost. Next is your nutrient use efficiency. They are also used to see the growth because you apply different doses of the nutrient, different levels of nutrient, and you see the yield, you see the response in terms of yield or growth. And in this case, certain nutrient use efficiencies are with respect to biomass, some are with the economic yield, and so on. So that is the result of the supply of the nutrient. If we see one factor as supply of the nutrient, so that we can work out several nutrient use efficiencies. And it can tell us that which level of nutrient gave us maximum growth, maximum growth. If you see the formula, you will see it is with respect to yield, that X level of nutrient is giving more yield or less yield. So these are quite useful in seeing the relationship between nutrient supply and plant growth. So this is nutrient use efficiencies. It is the maximum economic yield produced per unit of nutrient applied, absorbed, absorbed or utilized by the plant. So nutrient use efficiencies are defined on several criteria. One could be your absorbed quantity or uptake of the nutrient, or other may be the utilization of the nutrient or production of grain or extra, etc. So useful to differentiate plant species. So we can see nutrient use efficiency differences in plant species, genotypes, and cultivars for their ability to absorb or utilize nutrients for maximum yields. Some of the commonly used efficiency definitions are on the next page. You can see you are aware of these. Partial factor productivity of applied nitrogen. So often simply called nitrogen use efficiency or kg harvested produced per kg of nitrogen applied. So partial factor productivity here, N means nutrient. You can take any nutrient, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, whatever you want, and then yield due to application of the nutrient divided by the rate of the nutrient application. So here N means nutrient, rate of application of the nutrient. And Y means yield from the nutrient applied plot or field, and F is the rate of fertilizer. Now, you see the partial factor productivity of nitrogen has relationship with agronomic efficiency, and people have developed relationship yield in control Y0, yield in control plot, where you have not applied any fertilizer, divided by the rate of nutrient application plus AEN. So this is the relationship between a partial factor productivity and AEN. Next is agronomic efficiency of applied nitrogen. Kg yield increase per kg nitrogen applied. So this is kg yield increase. So AN is equal to Yn minus Y0. Yn means yield from the nutrient applied plot minus yield from control where you have not applied. So this is actually the increase over the control. This is increase over the control, increase in growth or yield, and divided by rate of nutrient application. and it has relationship with recovery efficiency and physiological efficiency can be developed. AEN is equal to REN into PEN. You can try. Then REN is your recovery efficiency. This is mostly said as soil scientists. They use recovery efficiency. Crop recovery efficiency of applied nitrogen or nutrient, kg increase in N uptake, kg increase in N uptake per kg nutrient applied. So REN is equal to 100. It is in percentage. So uptake in nutrient applied plot minus uptake in control divided by rate of fertilizer, rate of nutrient application. This is recovery efficiency. Then physiological efficiency of applied nutrient is kg yield increase. Kg yield increase per kg increase in nutrient uptake from fertilizer. So this is important physiological efficiency. It can be with respect to increase in biomass or increase in grain yield. You need to specify. If you specify that physiological efficiency is with respect to biomass or total biomass or with respect to grain biomass or grain yield. So physiological efficiency of applied nutrient is kg yield increase. This yield increase can be biomass or biological yield or can be grain yield. You need to specify. Per kg of increase in nutrient uptake from fertilizer. So Pn is equal to Yn minus Y0, yield in nutrient applied plot minus yield in control divided by uptake in nutrient applied plot minus uptake in control. So this is how we define these nutrient use efficiencies. Any problem, any question in this nutrient use efficiency formula here? And any doubt in this formula?
No, sir.
Okay. Now you see higher nutrient use efficiency are definitely desirable as these result in maximum economic returns and minimum pollution of the environment. We want higher nutrient use efficiency. We want maximum portion of the nutrients should be utilized by the plants. The least should be wasted. Because if you are wasting the nutrient means you are wasting the money and polluting the environment. And also sometimes decreasing the yield also, because otherwise the wasted nutrient could have been utilized by the crop, not at that time, but at later stage. So higher nutrient use efficiency are definitely desirable. So researchers try to increase the nutrient use efficiency and factor affecting the nutrient use efficiency and useful strategies to increase these are given in table. So it is very, very important to understand what are the factors that affect the nutrient use efficiency. So definitely, as I usually tell the students that you can remember certain factors, like you can start with the climate. Climatic factor will affect most of the things. And after climate, then you can remember soil. The soil factors also affect a variety of things, the uptake of nutrient, growth of plant and everything. Number 3 is your crop factors related to crops also. They also affect the response. One variety may give you more response, more nitrogen use efficiency than or nutrient use efficiency than the other variety. So climate, soil, your crop factors, and then your management, socio-economic factors, etc. Etc. So these are very common things which we can apply using common sense in deciding the factors. And also fertilizer factors here. Fertilizer factors are also important like source, rate, time, method of fertilizer application. So now climate affects the nutrient use efficiencies. Variety of nutrient efficiencies are there. So climate affect mainly by increasing or decreasing the supply and uptake of the nutrient. These climatic factors like temperature, rainfall, they can affect the availability and uptake of the nutrients in soil. So they are going to affect like water, moisture. If sufficient water is not there, your growth will be affected. Your temperature, since water is coming from rainfall. So that is why we can relate it to the rainfall. And definitely excess rainfall. Excess rainfall can lead to the losses of the nutrients. So that will also affect the growth. So too much of water or too less of water will affect the growth. via affecting the availability of the nutrients. So adverse temperature, solar radiation, and precipitation, these are climatic factors that can influence the nutrient use efficiency. So how we can enhance the nutrient use efficiency to overcome the climatic stresses. So variety selection and efficient crop management can be adopted. So variety selection is important. We can choose the variety which can tolerate the adverse temperature, which can tolerate the adverse moisture conditions, drought conditions, or flood conditions can be tolerated by the variety. So we need to, or variety which is giving more response under same soil fertility conditions, two different varieties can give you different responses. One may give you more response, one may give you less response. So selection of right variety is also important in this case. Adoption of efficient crop, soil, and nutrient management practices can help to overcome these climatic constraints. So you can go on thinking, go on adding the contents or strategies to enhance the nutrient use efficiency. So it is very simple that climatic factors like solar radiation, temperature, your precipitation, rainfall will affect the nutrient use efficiency. And we need to overcome the constraints or stresses created by the climatic factors by managing them. Next is your soil factor, like soil erosion. Soil erosion can lower down your nutrient use efficiency. Low fertility conditions, deficiency, toxicity of nutrients, salinity, alkalinity means these are the adverse conditions. Adverse soil conditions like hard pans and surface crusting, poor soil structure, low organic matter, low microbial activities, dryness of soil and water logging, etc. So these are the soil conditions or soil factors which can affect, if they are adverse, then they will reduce the nutrient use efficiency. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we
Yes,
can
sir.
hear you.
Okay, there was
Yes, sir.
some
Yeah.
disconnection. Okay. So in case of soil factors, I think it is clear to you now. So appropriate soil and water conservation measures may be adopted. Means you need to take the strategies that will prevent the soil erosion. You need to reduce the soil erosion. Restore soil fertility by improving the physical, chemical, and biological conditions of the soil. So generally means if your soil is healthy, it will give you more response to nutrients compared to the soil which is unhealthy. So the pH of the soil may also be corrected because you have some alkalinity problems and some soil pH related problems. Adoption of proper crop rotations for improving the soil fertility. And rest you can add yourself like water logging. If water logging is there, go for drainage of water. If low microbial activity, add organic matter into the soil. Do not use much chemicals into the soil. So poor surface crusting, if surface crusting is there, then hoeing can be done. Hoeing can be done to avoid hard pan, breakage of hard pan. So we can suggest the strategies based upon the limitation. Now, crop factors also influence the nutrient use efficiency, like cultivation of nutrient use inefficient cultivars. So, you know, nutrient use efficient cultivars are the varieties or genotypes that perform better under nutrient stressed conditions. So those are nutrient use efficient cultivars, and they are mostly nutrient specific. They are mostly nutrient specific. So if you have inefficient cultivars, your nutrient use efficiency will be low. Adoption of cultivars that are sensitive to biotic stresses. Also, a particular cultivar may be sensitive to insect pest or disease or some other nematodes or biotic stresses. So what can be done? Use or identify the cultivars. Means you grow the cultivars or varieties which perform better under low nutrient levels or stress condition. Selection of insect pest and disease tolerant cultivars can be adopted. Then fertilizer factors. fertilizer factor, inefficient management of fertilizer. So sometimes what happens, you need to identify the best time of application, best method of application, source of application, and rate of application. So these four aspects of fertilizer are important. You must see the principles of application of fertilizer, you will find these. So if you take the best or optimum method, optimum rate, everything optimum, then you will have higher nutrient use efficiency. If you do not take all these things optimum, if you broadcast the phosphatic fertilizer, then how can you get the more efficiency? Many times, what farmers do these days, they are using DAP fertilizer, diammonium phosphate, or any phosphatic fertilizer, single superphosphate. They are doing top dressing of phosphatic fertilizer. I have seen. So, do you think that top dressing of phosphatic fertilizer will give you more nutrient use efficiency, more phosphorus use efficiency? No. It has to be applied near the seed or near the roots of the plant. So basal application that is also in bands will give you more benefit or more phosphorus use efficiency. So these efficient use of fertilizer is very, very important. So what can be done? Fertilizer should be used at right dose, right time using scientific methods. Choose the fertilizers which have higher nutrient use efficiency. Adoption of balanced fertilization, integrated nutrient management, and SSNM. These are the concepts or things that needs to be adopted to increase the fertilizer use efficiency or use efficiency of nutrient use efficiency. The other is your cultural practices. Cultural practices are the management factors that it starts from selection of varieties, selection of cropping system, crop rotations, timing of different agricultural operation, water management, and so on. So monoculture will result in lower nutrient use efficiency than the multiple or your crop rotation, adoption of crop rotations. So inappropriate cultural practices like late, low or high seed rate, inappropriate method and depth of sowing, excess tillage, poor weed and water management, inefficient control of insect pests and diseases. All these agronomic practices or cultural practices will affect the nutrient use efficiency. They are inefficient, then your nutrient use efficiency will be low. And if you change them, if you improve them, then you can increase the nutrient use efficiency. So what can be done? Adopt proper crop rotations and efficient agronomic or crop management practices, minimize the damage by insect pests and diseases, and improve the tillage practices. Now conservation tillage or zero tillage, other kind of tillages, bed planting, this and that. So people have reported some changes or improvement in nutrient use efficiency by adopting modern methods of tillage, adopt right time of sowing. So you need to just reverse the weaknesses or reverse the factors which reduce it, and efficient fertilizer management, etc. So this is all. Pulomi, you can stop the recording. So now your questions are invited. Yeah,
Sir,
Wahid.
is there any test next week?
Quiz. You want to give the quiz? Okay, we can take the quiz. Don't worry about quiz and exam. They will be done in time. We will take in time. Don't worry. I will take next week. I will take your online quiz. Okay. Don't worry about exam. You should worry about the things, whether you have learned a particular thing or not. You should worry about that. You should worry that I have not read this topic from the book. So I usually say the student, you just read the books of Brady, Nature and Properties of the Soil. You read every chapter of that book, and then no other person will have knowledge like you in this subject. I can tell you, I assure you. Nature and properties of the soil. You have chapters on organic matter. So much fantastically written. Chapter on sulfur, chapter on nitrogen, of soil science, soil fertility. So you should read that book. How many of you
Hello.